Okay, so I just wanted to talk about what I'm seeing on my timeline. I'm seeing a lot of posts about hoodoo, but in these posts, they're leaving out the Americans. They're leaving out the indigenous Americans when they're talking about hoodoo. They're giving all the origin to Africa. When hoodoo has a lot of plants and practices that come from the Americas. A lot of our grandmas said they were Cherokee. They said they were Powhatan. They said they were Creek, Choctaw, all these different things. These people that we have learned hoodoo from. Now, all hoodoo is not the same because these practices are based on your bloodline and your family and how y'all did it in y'all family, right? So it's bloodline based. So let me just add on to this. The word hoodoo, we can compare the who and the hoodoo to hoochie, which is a Creek Indian word, right? Hoochie, hoochie coochie, Chattahoochee. I know a lot of y'all know of the Chattahoochee River in Georgia. Chattahoochee means rocky river. So hoochie has to do with river, right? And then many other Eastern Woodland languages, right? There's three meanings to the word. So there's hoochie is river, okay, and then there's uchi, which is to see far. Uchi or uchi means to see far, or a seer, right? People who have the veil, or seers, the conjurers, the root workers. These are, to the third definition, hoochies. So back in the day, they used to call the root workers hoochies, whether they were male or females. Now, the hoochies they used to do their rituals out down by the river or in the woods close to the river. You had to be, for many people, I mean, practices are different, but you had to be close to the river, to the water, because in indigenous American cultures, water is God, water is life, water is spirit, the great spirit. Okay? So the dance that they used to do was provocative or exotic, whatever you want to call it. And these people will wear less clothes. They're more free with their self. Centrally that way. And the people those were the hoochies, and they would do the hoochie coochie dance. Now, y'all know I went over some of these terms before with hoochie and coochie and their relation to river. I hope I don't get banned for my video get messed up for using these words, because the origin of these words are not what they are today, right? So these people who were working roots, they're doing their medicine walk by the river. They're doing their practices by the river. They're doing their hoochie coochie dance by the river. They will call these people hoochies. Okay. Also, you can also say hoodoo. The hoochies do hoodoo. And that they could be that they're blending those words voodoo, which is not the original word that the Africans used, right? Voodoo is the word that the Europeans use for them. They use voodoo. That's how they say it over there. So you can say hoodoo comes from the hoochies, who did the work, who worked the roots, blended it into that other word of voodoo, okay? And we also know there's some practices, especially down in Louisiana, that come from the voodoo practices, that come from Haiti, that come from Benin, and all these other places, okay? So I'm not saying it's solely American Indian, but there are people and family and bloodlines who do hoodoo that are solely American Indian or indigenous American. But I just want to bring that perspective into light, because the who and hoodoo comes from the Creek word hoochie, okay? So how can you leave the indigenous Americans out when the whole beginning of the word, and I can't confirm the do part, but the who part is for hoochies, okay? We ain't talking about the Luke dancers. We ain't talking about the Luke dancer hoochies. We're talking about the root worker, the hoochie coochie dancers, okay? And we know some of that stuff that people are doing now. Like y'all saw some of my videos, I compared P Valley to indigenous American culture. The Luke dances stuff, all that stuff comes from these hoochie coochie dances and the hoodoos and the hoochies, okay? So I'm just adding a different perspective here. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not telling to say other people are lying or not telling the truth or they're false because that's their truth. That might be the truth for their bloodline. But there's other bloodlines who practice hoodoo who are purely or strictly indigenous American. And we know most of the plants that are used in hoodoo come from the American, and that knowledge comes from the American Indians who passed that knowledge down, whether they were family members or they were practicing the roots together by the river because a lot of cultures went by the river as well, right? So I'm just adding that hoodoo, that hoochie aspect to the hoodoo conversation, okay? And there's also a part of the conversation they're telling people who are not from certain bloodlines. Well, there was people saying that if you're not from African bloodlines, that you cannot practice hoodoo. But I beg to differ, okay? Like I just showed y'all. And I got the receipts. So if y'all want me to make another video with the receipts, I can do it on here. I can do it, I can do it on YouTube. And just let me know because I do have the receipts for the hoochie word now. And plus I was told this by my great grandmother who was a root worker. Okay. So just letting y'all know.